Your point is that we have to, I think as I understand what you're saying, we have to redefine what being a great nation is about. We are not a great nation when we have 40 million people living in poverty and in despair. We're not a great nation when we have massive levels of income and wealth inequality, when 87 million people can't afford to go to a doctor today. So to answer your question, I think that as a nation, we have got to focus a great deal of attention on those distressed communities. Often they're African American, often they're Latino, often they are rural white communities. And that means making sure that the kids there get the quality education that they deserve, making sure that we're creating good paying jobs in those communities. I voted against NAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, and other trade agreements because I knew that those agreements were written by corporate America with the goal of shutting down plants in this country and moving abroad. And the result of that has been the loss of millions of good-paying jobs and the complete destruction of communities all across this country, in the South and all across this country. So we have got to rebuild those communities. We have got to bring high-tech jobs, not just to Silicon Valley, but to rural America. Again, I don't have magical answers, but the goal is we will not, under a Sanders administration, turn our backs on distressed communities. We will rebuild those communities. We will build the millions of units of affordable housing that we need. Now think about what it means to a community now where people are living in terrible housing or housing they cannot afford. When we put young people to work rebuilding their own communities, will that become an indication of hope and optimism? I think it will.
We're talking about so many deeply important issues, and all of them that will be under the control, or at least the direction, of the one person who winds up becoming the president of the United States. Is it an impossible job? I mean, it seems like being the president, you are managing so many different aspects of our economy, our culture, our safety, our environment, international communication, and it's so in depth. How does one person do a job like that?
Well, one person doesn't do it, and you certainly don't do it by tweeting every other day major policy issues.
I think he tweets a lot more than every other day.
You know, what you do, and this is the way any sane president operates, is you need to be working with the smartest men and women from all walks of life who understand these issues. Every issue we have touched on, Joe, is enormously complicated. And I can send out a 20-word tweet on it, but that doesn't solve it. So unlike Trump, we will bring together the best and most knowledgeable people in this country to address the housing crisis, to address the issue of these diseases of despair. We didn't even touch on climate change, and then the future of the planet. How do we lead the world in transforming our energy system and creating the kind of jobs that we need? How do we revitalize American democracy so that instead of suppressing the vote, we're getting more young people involved in the political process? So to answer your question, it is not a one-person job, and anyone who thinks it is dead wrong. You need the help of a very strong administration that knows the issues, that comes from the ranks of the working